Hey guys, Chase Arevalo coming at you from Boca Raton, Florida. Welcome to the Racket Accelerator Program Volley module, all right? In this video, we're gonna break down the fundamental key things that you need to apply right now to make the biggest impact on your volleys, okay? Now, we're gonna go into a few different things here, all right? Now, conceptually, all right, there's a few things you gotta understand. Number one, if you want to be a better volleyer, you got to start volleying with your feet more, okay? So I'm going to break down all the lower body components, how to optimize your stance, okay, and make sure you're doing the footwork correctly, all right? Then I'm going to simplify for you the upper body components and give you a very easy framework to work with to start optimizing the foundations of your volleys, okay? Now, let's start with the lower body component, okay? Before we even talk about the upper body, all right? So look, with your lower body, when you're starting, okay, you're probably standing here about shoulder width apart. I want you to exaggerate it even more. Get really wide. Get really wide so you can get really low, okay? Make sure you're not only hinging from your hips and knees and ankles, but make sure you really emphasize hinging in the hips. Make sure you hinge in the hips, okay, and keep good posture, all right? But you want to be into your hips, you want to feel it in your hips, okay, and you want to be really wide, all right? As a general rule, if you put your racket down as such, you can put your feet right outside. That's going to be a good general rule to follow for your width and your stance, all right? Now, it's really important to maintain the width in your stance the entirety of the time that you're at the net or transitioning into net. You don't want to be running into net, coming up like this, jogging in. You want to make sure that you're able to stay wide, stay low as you're coming in and maintain the hinging of your legs, even when you're moving, okay? What I like to think about is imagine there's an imaginary ceiling right above you when you're getting low, so that once you bend, now that ceiling just shrunk and now you can't go back up. Imagine if that building just stayed at that height, right? So I want you to think about that when you're practicing your lower body and just exaggerate it. Right now, what you can do right now is exaggerate your stance, double the width of your stance. So if you're here, you got to get even wider, okay? For right now, you cannot get too wide. You can't get too wide. That would be a great thing if we see your footage and then we're like, wait, you're a little too wide. Let's narrow the stance up a little bit. That would mean you're trending in the right direction, all right? Now, let's move on past that lower body component, okay? Last thing I'll say at the lower body component though, when you're balanced like this, make sure that you're not on your heels. Make sure that you're more leaning forward and your weight is on your toes. Instead of being on your heels, make sure your weight is more on your toes, okay? So now that we covered the lower body component, okay, we're gonna go into now the upper body component, all right? So first things first, if you don't have a true continental grip, all right, with your index knuckle, all right, above the bevels between bevels number 1 and bevels number 2, all right, you're going to have a tough time volleying the correct way. If your grip is too much this way or too much this way, it's not going to be optimized, all right? So make sure you have a true continental grip, okay? Now, once you do that, when you're getting prepared, all right, I'm going to show you from the side angle. Number 1, hold the racket with your left hand on the throat of the racket, okay? Now, your hands need to be away from your body. They can't be anywhere close here. Number 1 thing, they need to be away from your body, okay? Now, once they're away from your body, now you need to assess, okay, are they too low? Is it too high? Is it the right height? How you know it's the right height is the tip of the racket is going to be right at your eye level. So when you're volleying, you want to be able to fit a beach ball in your arms right here. You see this right here? Fit a beach ball in your arms so there's a lot of space between your hands and your chest, all right? So keep the tip of the racket up like this and make sure the racket is level and straight this way. Now, why wouldn't you be like this? Why wouldn't I be like this? Because when you're here, It's equidistant from the forehand side to the backhand side. If I'm prepared like this, if you hit to my backhand volley, I'll be able to react quickly. But what if you hit to my forehand volley? I'm gonna have to hit the ball like that. That's very slow. No chance I'm gonna make that, okay? So now that we covered the spacing, where the hands need to be positioned, okay? And I recommend having strong elbows, like someone's pushing in your elbows like this. Someone's pushing in your elbows, and keep them strong. Keep them strong out in front, okay? Now, the first step on your volley, after you're already in your athletic stance and your hands are in front and you're taking little bouncing steps like this, is you're going to split step. You're going to split step the biggest you've ever done in your entire life, and you're gonna even do it 100% better than that. You're gonna take a jump in the air when you split. You're gonna take a jump into the air when you split, because I'm changing the name. It's no longer a split step, it's a split jump. It's a jump. You need to jump into it and give yourself that energy into every single shot, okay? But especially on the volleys and returns, all right? So you do a big split step. The first thing you're gonna do from a technical standpoint now is, we're gonna first talk about the forehand volley, okay? You're here. What happens is after you split and you realize it's going to your forehand, you're going to notice how the racket's like this. It's up, it's not like this. It's up, it's up. My wrist is cocked up like this. And the only thing I'm doing is I'm going to lean the racket like this. The only thing I'm doing is I'm leaning the racket like this. So look at it from different angles. Look at it from different angles. And it's the same on the backhand volley. I'm in front, I'm leaning the racket. From a side view, I'm leaning the racket. So notice how it's basically a 90-degree angle like this, and I'm leaning the racket, okay? Now, I'm out in front, my arms are extended here, and I'm leaning to the side. So I lean to the side on the forehand volley, okay? You lean to the side. Now, when you're hitting your volley, what you want to do is you're starting to lean, you lean, not fully like this, but about halfway. So from a side view, you would see the racket head being oriented like this. So lean, externally rotate the shoulder, externally rotate the shoulder, externally rotate the shoulder, externally rotate the shoulder, okay? And you're leaning it back here. Now, what you're gonna do is, after you lean the racket, okay, you're gonna notice that you wanna have bend in your elbow, and you want your elbow to be shaped just like this right here. You want to have this shape right here in your arm, okay? So the elbow is gonna be kind of close in here, but it's gonna be in front of your body, and you want to kind of have a U right here, okay? Create a letter U right here, all right? Now, you're leaning the racket, okay? And you're turning. Now, I want you to maintain this angle, turn your shoulders, okay? And we're gonna talk about the upper body component, then we're gonna sync the feet with it, okay? But with the upper body component, you're going to basically be turning your shoulders, okay? And you want to stop the racket at contact. I want you to right now try on your volleys to do less, not more. You're probably doing too much on your volleys right now today. So what we're gonna do is we're going to get a better volley. We're gonna add skill to your volley by subtracting the complexity. So I want you to make sure your elbow's out in front, to make sure that you're not straight like this, that it's bent, and you can see this letter right here clearly. And what I want you to do is, I want you to stop the racket at contact. So you're not gonna hit the ball and keep the racket going. You're going to stop the racket. You're going to stop the racket directly at contact. And as a corrective technique, you can even try stopping it before you make contact, if you're struggling with actually stopping it right at contact, okay? So what this is going to do is it's going to simplify your stroke and make sure that you're able to let the ball bounce off your strings, okay, and utilize your opponent's pace correctly, all right? When there's a slower ball in general, if the ball's floating and it's really slow, you have to create the pace on your volleys. So that's when you'll see a little bit more of a motion, right? A little bit more of like a pop, because you have to create the pace. But if you're playing someone and they're ripping the ball fast at you, you don't need to be creating a lot of pace. You need to be redirecting the pace and optimizing for how solid you can make that contact point, okay? So it's all about priorities and risk taking, right? There's no point of doing a big swing on your volley when you don't need to create any pace, right? So you split step, you lean the racket, you turn your shoulders as you're adjusting your feet, okay? And I want you to stop the racket at contact. Okay, now with the left arm, you're gonna notice how the left arm, the hand and the arm is going to be above the height of your right hand. So it's not gonna be like this. It's gonna be a little bit segmented here, and it's gonna match up where this arm is gonna be a little bit above the right hand, the hitting arm, okay? So on the forehand volley, I want you to focus on leaning it out to the side, maintaining that angle while you position your body with your steps for the volley. Now, with the steps on the volley, here's how you're gonna do it, okay? You're gonna split step. You're gonna take one step out to the side, okay? Split, 1, 2. Split, take the first step out to the side with the right foot. Then you're gonna push off forward and you're gonna time it like this. Split step, okay? Split step, one step out here, okay? Now the timing is when you push off your right foot. I want you to time it where you're making contact while you're pushing off the right foot. So you push off the right foot, you make contact, then your left foot touches. So what most people get taught is they get taught to hit volleys like this. That's probably what you've been taught before. And if we were in the 1700s or 1800s or 1900s, I think you should do that. But guys, it's 2025. We're in the modern era now. That's not the most optimal way to volley, okay? Especially at the highest level. So if you're volleying like this, I want you to change it to being more open. And when you're stepping, don't step across so much. Step forward more. Push off your outside foot. Keep weight longer on the outside foot. And it's going to be like this here. Split, 1, 2. Split, 1, 2. Put my chain back in. Okay. Split, 1, 2. Split, 1, 2. So notice how when I split and I take the step, the toe goes out to the side, and then I push off forward towards the net, and I stop at contact. I stop at contact, and ideally, I want to be making contact right after I'm pushing off the outside leg. So on the forehand volley, it's going to be the timing split step, push off the right foot, make contact, then the left foot touches forward. Okay? On the backhand volley, same thing. Split, 1, split, 1, split, 1, 2, split, 1, 2, split, 1, 2, split, 1, 2. Okay, now on the volley, when you split step, how do you know? Should I take a little step out to the side? Should I take a big step out to the side? How do I know how to take the step? Right? How do I even know? It's very simple. You're going to adjust the step based on where the ball is. So if the ball goes right to you, I don't need to take a big step this way because I'm already in position. So maybe it'd be more like this, where I'm just taking an adjustment step, but I'm just adjusting the foot position. I'm not taking a big step out to the side though. So let's say someone hits a ball way out to the side here, and I need to go split, 1, 2, right? Split, 1, 2, and then coming back here, split, 1, 2. So if I need to cover distance left and right, I use that first step after the split with the outside foot to cover that distance, okay? And then when I push off the leg from the ground, I make sure my body weight is going just forward, and I'm fighting everything to make sure it's going forward and not to the side, because you don't want to just go to the side like this and kind of flail your body weight to the side, okay? So now, that's kind of the foundations of how to hit the volley, okay? And with the steps, you can apply that footwork component. It's going to immediately give you a more solid volley, okay? So now that you understand that, you understand to lean the racket. This is going to allow you to orient the racket so you can get some more of that clean backspin on the ball, okay? Now, one major tip to remember is when you're here going on your volley, okay, make sure that you're not internally rotating your shoulder as you go to hit the volley. So make sure you're not going like this. Very common mistake I see with players. Make sure no matter how you're moving the racket, okay, you're moving this with a constant angle and you're not changing this angle here of your arm, all right? So the best analogy that I found, okay, with the years of research that I've done is imagine there's a tabletop right here. You want to push this across the tabletop. Notice how I'm not going like this. I'm keeping this set, my wrist is set, and I'm brushing across a tabletop. If there's a tabletop right here and it's on top, I'm just going straight through the tabletop without adjusting my shoulder like this, okay? So that's something to look out for. Make sure you're doing that in your video footage that you're sending in. Make sure you're not coming in like this to contact. A lot of people, they're like this, boom, boom, and that's why they miss in the net, because the racket is facing down at contact. So with the net, you have to understand the geometry of the court and the angles of the racket. And the more reps you do, you'll get more familiar with that, okay? So now, let's talk about some big ticket items on the volleys to remember, okay? So look, on the backhand volley, the number one tip that you can do right now to correct your volley on the backhand volley, okay, is this. You're going to, you know how to lean it, you know to turn your shoulders, okay? Now, in general, what I want you to apply right now to immediately improve your backhand volley is, you're hitting your backhand volley, boom, boom. I want you to practice setting up as high as you can. As high as you can, and then stop the racket at contact. Set up your racket as high as you can, and then stop the racket at contact. This is another correction that will be game-changing for you, because the most common thing on the backhand volley is people set up too low, so their elbows aren't in the right position, and their arms aren't oriented correctly to actually go forward to the ball. So I can go into all the biomechanics and the science and reasons why that is, but for you, what you need to understand is elevate this higher and then practice your volley with that. You're gonna feel a lot more solid, you're gonna feel a lot more pop on it, okay? And I'll give you a few more corrective techniques to work on as well, okay? So one other corrective technique I want you to work on your backhand, okay? Especially when you're getting fed balls or you just want to improve your technique. Practice when you're hitting, you're here, split. When you hit the ball, look to the back fence. When you're here, split, boom. Split, boom. So what this is gonna correct is for most players who hit their backhand volley and they're opening up like this, and they're hitting the ball here, the weakness is this is not in line with how your arms move and how your shoulders move. If your shoulders are turned more and you stay more sideways, you're gonna be able to go this way with your arm. This is natural. For me to go forward, this is very natural. But if I'm like this is very unnatural. I'm going against the grain now. So most coaches will say, oh, you're opening up. You're opening up, you're opening up, you're opening up. Okay, but that's the symptom, that's not the real root cause. So what you want to correct there is give them something to think about. And what you should think about is when you're here, you split, look to the back fence as you hit. It's the best tip to ensure that you or your student does not open up on that backhand volley. Okay, now an additional higher level tip. On the backhand volley, when you want to go down the line, I want you to make sure that you exaggerate your shoulder turn. because it's the same principle I just broke down. It's going to be more in line with your arms this way. So you have to make sure when you're going down the line on your backhand volley that you turn your shoulders even more. It's the same thing on the forehand volley as well, okay? If you want to go down the line on the volley, make sure you exaggerate your shoulder turn so you can really go forward and your body's lined up for success, all right? So very important tip there. Now, let's talk about some other corrective techniques that you can apply and experiment with. So I want you to experiment with getting your hands to come together and stopping. So I want you to actually either stop it like this, right before eye contact, like this, where the left hand actually comes in. Where the left hand comes in and actually goes past. Split, boom. Split, boom. Split, boom. So this is a corrective technique. You're not supposed to hit all your shots like that, but it's a corrective technique to keep you more connected. So that's a more extreme way to correct the same thing that we're correcting when you're stopping the racket right at contact. Okay, so try that out as well. And additionally, on your volleys, like this is the next thing we're going to talk about. Okay, so on your volley, you're getting wide in your stance, you're splitting, you're leaning the racket, okay, and you're turning your shoulders. Now, when should you turn your shoulders a lot? When should you stay more forward facing? If you have time and it's slower and you're creating more pace, and especially if you're going down the line, you're going to want to position yourself a little bit more side on, okay? However, when the game speeds up, when you're playing good players, right, and they're hitting the ball fast at you, sometimes you don't have that luxury. So you need to also be able to face forward and adjust the racket face and also be able to not turn your shoulders as much. So there's a difference between like reaction volleys and all other types of volleys. Reaction volleys are going to be more forward facing and you won't be able to turn your shoulders as much. So it's going to be more about making sure you have the right movement, okay, from side to side, so you can get out of your way when someone goes to your body. But that's more for like higher level players, right? But one thing I want you to start implementing into your routine is figure out, okay, what type of volleys do I struggle with more? All right, so first of all, look at all the technical things we talked about. If you haven't optimized all of those, your stance, the arm components, first do that, okay? But then once you've done that, I want you to think about it and say, okay, do I struggle more with the balls that someone rips it right at me, right, when they give me a lot of pace? Or do I struggle with the slower balls when it's floating, right, when I have to create the pace? And then you can start to see, okay, wait, now I should focus on these particular types of drills. So most likely, the first thing that you're going to want to work on is obviously both of those, but I would identify which one you need to work on more, the fast ones or the slow ones, okay? And just realize that, especially if you're a good player and you realize like, okay, the slow ones really damage me, like you're not able to create pace, that probably means there's something a little off technically and also timing wise. It could be with the legs, it could be with the upper body, could be just the timing of things, but that's a clear indicator that there's something you can optimize, especially if like you love it when they rip the ball at you and you're really good at the reaction volleys. I know when I was growing up, those were the best ones for me. I was really good, I had really good hands, good hand-eye coordination, could volley all of them back, but then when it would slow it down, when I had to create the pace, when I was in control of it, I couldn't execute it. I didn't have the optimal technique and I would go down like this a little bit, right? I wouldn't know the right way to stop at contact. I was trying to do so much when the answer is actually do less. Less is more on the volleys. Less is more. If you're looking for a solution on your volleys, say, okay, what can I remove? How can I simplify this? How can I do less? Is the ball bouncing off my strings or am I trying to swing at the ball? Am I utilizing my opponent's pace or am I just trying to crack on the ball, right? So what I want you to do is focus first on those foundational technical things that we just discussed and start applying some of those corrective techniques. And I want you to have an oversimplified version of your volleys so that it's repeatable and it's consistent. okay? And I want you to optimize the technique for it. Because when we're optimizing our biomechanics, we're gonna be widening your foundation to build up long term. So spend the time, okay? Spend the hours dialing in your technique, utilize us in the feedback loop section to make sure we're applying the specific things from our experts onto you specifically, because everyone's body's different, right? Maybe you need to work on a certain correction over something else. So everything I just broke down is gonna help you tremendously, and I want you to implement all of this and take video and then focus on the next steps for your own serve based on what our experts provide to you in your training plans, okay, and on your coaching calls, all right? So if you have any other questions about the volleys, let me know, all right? But I hope that helped, and I will see you guys in the next module, all right? Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I believe in you, and I know today is the day for you to change your life and change your volleys. So with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.